to the Football 360 show, the fastest hour football talk on the planet. Back in the saddle, back in the studio. I am JP Rock. He is Matt Bierman. How you doing, Matt?
Doing great.
Fantastic time of the year. I know a lot of people think that it's the off season, nothing's going on, but really everything's going on, and you can really feel it. I know you can. You can really feel everything gearing up because really it's football season. Football is a year-round sport. It is football season. I know you just got back this past weekend from a successful trip.
Fun 7-on-7.
Kansas City. Fun. Successful. Fun. Maybe. Well run.
Nah, not so much.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you know what? Execution-wise, not bad. Yeah, refereeing.
Not good.
No. I think people are wearing referee shirts that probably are not real referees. But, you get that in the off-season when it's not – managed by Misha, right?
Right.
You got a lot of guys that just don't even know the rules. And a guy arguing with me that that face guarding is illegal in high school. And I said, well, actually, no. And according to the rules, it's the only level of football you can face guard legally.
No.
Not looking for the ball. They changed the rule in like 2013. But it's a rule. But the guy was convinced that Missouri had a separate rule from the national governing body. Just simple things like that. And you show them, you try to educate people, and no, they know.
They don't want to do that. They're going to collect their money.
The guy was not a bad referee, just did not know the rules, which of course, if you're a referee, that's okay. I mean, that's kind of what your job is. I think you're supposed to know the rules.
And I heard there was a lot, bunch of little arguments, including amongst the referees.
A couple referees got
and stuff like that.
Nearly get into a fist fight. I mean, that's the one thing about 7-on-7. It is never short of. It's like a Jerry Springer episode.
It really is. And sometimes you get like opposing coaches act like idiots and lose their mind.
It's pretty funny. I mean, at the end of the day, and for the most part, I would say most coaches are cordial to one another.
Oh, yeah.
I would say that's fairly universal that most of them are not happy about calls. And, and to give the refs some relief, like some of them don't even know what 7-on-7 is. But I will say the group that was in Kansas City was the same group that was there last year, by and large, the same guys.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they've done anything since last year. Because
really well run last year, though.
Yeah, but it was the same group of guys. It was organization of the tournament, starting on time, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Great. Fine.
Yeah. That last minute change of venue, though, that's always a sign something.
I've been doing this stuff for so long. It's like there's certain things you pick up on, and you're like, ooh, just what makes you worry about the just continuity of it. But I think overall, if they set the tournament, they get the times right, and then they stick to the times, it can be really good. And if they have enough fields, like they had 6 fields going, or 3 fields, but 6 games going at a time.
Right.
That helps. That helps a lot. That kind of keeps things flowing. But man, Kansas is windy. It was windy last year. It was windy this year.
It's windy and cold.
Well, it's not Kansas, but North Kansas City, right?
Yeah.
It's up by the airport. It was windy.
It's got some elevation.
It was definitely windy.
Yeah, you can be interesting. So we're going to talk about that. Talk about your individual teams and the success they had. You also had the NFL draft, NFL Combine happening. And how about Mr. Brady? A couple of local guys.
Yes.
When I say local, I mean Missouri. Actually, 3 local guys when I say Missouri. Luther Burden, no surprise there. Everybody kind of knew what he was. He just, went ahead and put a stamp on it.
He did great.
Then you have Brady Cook, who you and I have been telling people for years and years. I remember when Brady signed with Mizzou, I said I was publishing a Mizzou site at the time, and I said, when Brady Cook steps foot on Mizzou's campus, he is going to be their best quarterback.
And how many people do you have pushed back on that?
Oh, yeah. They're like, what? Well, who else recruited him was the big thing.
Just Lindenwood.
Armand Membo. Similar thing. He was not the Caden Green level of notoriety, but a damn good football player. And so him and Brady, just come out and just kill it at the NFL Combine along with Luther. And so I'm sure we're going to talk about that.
Yeah, I'm sending a video to Joe here. Have him
load it
link up because it's one of those things. It's a video of Brady doing his just his throws at the combine.
I will say
that's really a good conversation.
I got to tell you, I got to tell you what. I mean, as impressive as he was testing, you and I both know that. We've seen that for years and years and years. The throwing. I will say that when the guys I saw throw, Jackson Dart, phenomenal, right? Who is the other? Oh, Texas quarterback. Ewers. Probably maybe number 2, but Brady Cook right there with him.
Yep. And you know what's interesting is so on the testing side of things, Brady was unable. So he and I had a good conversation yesterday, and he was unable to get much train because he only had 3 weeks to prepare for the combine.
Mm-hmm.
And which, as you know, like most of the time, those guys are doing, like we have guys at the facility right now training for their pro days, and they've been going they will have been there like 8 weeks, 9 weeks before they have their pro day.
Mm-hmm.
So 3 days or 3 weeks before, because he did the Hula Bowl, then he did the East-West Shrine game, and then he had 3 weeks from the day that he was told he was going to the combine. And the decision was made that his ankle is still healing from the season. Remember when he hurt his ankle?
Yeah.
He's about 80%.
Pretty bad injury.
And so he chose not to spend much time, if any, preparing for the test, and just worked on rehabbing his ankle and getting his throwing in line. And guess what? He ran a 4.59.
Yeah.
Broad jump, 10 foot, 8
at 214 pounds.
And then he had a 37-inch vertical leap.
Right.
And so we were laughing about it because he's like, I just kind of knew that I was going to do that. That's kind of what I can do anyway. So I wasn't really worried about not being able to doing it. Right. Yep. But it goes back to, I told you, years ago, Jacob Buffa walked into my office, the guy who created an off season for us, who's now the director of sports science for the Astros. And he asked me, who's Brady Cook? I said, he's one of our top guys. He's, he's a freshman, going to be a sophomore. He's good for his grade. He's the best guy in his grade.
Yeah.
And, he's like, oh yeah, man, he's off the charts. He's going to be an NFL or a college guy at some point. But his power rating and his balance of athleticism was so good. It just kind of was a predictor of the future. And that was how many years ago? And then you see it on display, and he gets there and he's testing better than the other quarterbacks. But yeah, I think, Joe, if you have that video, because the throwing was the
thing.
They don't
have it yet.
Oh, you don't have it yet?
No email yet.
Oh, okay.
We got it? Got it? Or
yep.
No? Okay.
Somebody's got it now. So, but yeah, so he got the throw. He did all his throws and was able to go through and prove that he has the arm. The big challenge is, does he have a big arm, right? Does he have a big arm, right? Well, he's throwing the ball 50, 55 yards.
Right. He's got a strong arm, but what really impressed me is, like, when you look at that ball placement.
Yep.
Right. Look at he's just perfect, and especially the outside throws were
the knock on him in college was, he doesn't have a strong arm and they can't throw the ball deep, and you watch these guys running in stride. There was other notable names that really struggled in these drills, big name guys.
Will Howard.
And these guys, you're throwing on air. I mean, I would argue and now granted it's tough because you're on the national stage, people are watching, but
he gets good air.
Oh yeah, just
boom,
right on the line, right there. So he felt like he threw really well. Obviously his footwork is solid. Yes. But I go back to, you look at the guys that threw well yesterday mechanically, like they're solid. Like they're not the sidearm guys. They're not the guys doing anything unconventional. They're guys that you have tried and true mechanics that can rely upon their mechanics to throw the ball.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Brady pretty much silenced anybody that thought that he doesn't have a high level arm. And then they do the velocity test, and he threw. It was interesting. I was talking to his dad on our way home from Kansas City, and part of the conversation was how hard did he throw? And he said, I don't know. So I said, my professional opinion is, you kind of relevant from 52 and above up to about 62 is kind of like that was like the range. And I said, I bet you Brady throws 57. That would be my guess, right?
Off the top of your head.
And he called me back like 10 minutes later after we got the call. He's like, hey, he threw, it was 56.8. So I was off 2/10. Whatever. Fine. I mean, maybe just calibrate the gun a little differently. But,
right.
But it's one of those things you kind of know by watching and catching guys what they throw.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say, there are some guys that feel like they throw the ball really, really fast, but it's like heavy when you catch it. And usually it's because the ball is not rotating fast enough.
Yeah.
So the guys that really spin it, when it comes in, I mean, you feel it, but it's very efficient how it gets to you. So like those guys, like Brady's an efficient thrower, like, and so like, you know, for you young quarterbacks out there, like again, velocity is not everything, but it does paint a picture. Yeah. So to give you an idea, you know, I would guess Brady probably throws the ball 65-ish. So to give you an idea, like the hardest we've ever had anybody throw in our facility was Mike Glass. And I think it was 63.5, 64 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And he throws the ball 75 yards.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whereas, which is interesting because Mike Glass isn't the biggest guy.
5'10",
yep.
5'11".
Yep.
But he throws like he's 6'4".
Yes.
He's on top of it and
he's
he
not sidearming
rips it. Oh, he rips it.
Yeah.
My God, he rips it. So he's getting into college coaching now, which he's going to be phenomenal college coach. But you know, kind of give you an idea. So like if you're like in middle school and you can throw anywhere from 35 to 48, you're ripping it. You know, like you're ripping it. If you're in high school, you're going to be anywhere from like 46 to like 53, 54. You're ripping it, right? Then you start getting into the college level guys, and then that's that 52 to 62 kind of in that range. It's a little bit wider range, but because there's only a few guys that are going to be like 58 plus, right? So it's really the range really is more like 52 to 58. That's kind of the range. And then you have a few outliers that can just flat out.
So let me ask you this. Like you said, velocity is not everything. Don't you think quick release, getting the ball, how the ball comes
to me, the mechanic,
how the ball comes off your hand is more important than being able to just put the ball through a wall.
Right. I think it's to me, it's more about how you achieve that, because you can rear up. Like I could have guys crow hop and run into it and throw a lot harder than what they could normally. Right.
I see that
like it's like what they do in baseball. Like they call them pull downs. I watch our guys at our facility do it all the time. That's where they get a running start. Right.
Yep.
But it gives you an idea of kind of where top end velocity actually is for the athlete. But for quarterbacks, like to me, it's about speed of release. Right. So how fast from the moment you remove your hand from the ball to the time it comes off your hand. So like 0.3 of a second is about is like where you want to be. Like from the time your front hand comes off the ball to the time it leaves your hand, right in that range, depending on the throw you're making. But vast majority, 0.3 of a second. Yeah. The elite level throwers are right in that range.
I mean, that's really what I look at is, how do you fire that ball out of there? And unfortunately, there's some guys who are really good quarterbacks who have all the tools, but they haven't learned that yet. Now, I know that there are guys who have come to you and you've taught them that, but then they regress.
Yeah, it's hard,
too, which is interesting.
It's really hard because, you got to be careful who you learn to throw from when you're young, right? And I think because it doesn't seem like it matters until it matters, right? And then at some point, the beauty's in the eye of the beholder. And I would tell you the vast majority of scouts and even college coaches I've talked to, most of them are not necessarily experts in throwing mechanics. Like we get into a conversation and their head starts spinning because that's not what they do on a daily basis, right? So it's what I do, right? It's what I do every day. But what I can say is that aesthetically, there are certain things that you identify as someone who coaches those people, like say a scout or just a coach that says, oh, that looks good. Like that looks good because it's aesthetically pleasing, right? And so so there's things that really what it is that the brain is really good at like recognizing symmetry. So like the more symmetrical someone is throwing, the easier it is to see. And then your brain's like, oh, that looks good. Versus I always tell kids, like, you can knock someone out with a sweeping hook. I'm not going to debate you on that.
Right.
But you may not connect.
No.
But a jab is going to connect almost every single time if you're in alignment with your target, right? It's at least going to make your target respond.
With college coaches, they're looking for pretty.
They are.
Okay. They're looking for pretty. They don't want out of the box. They don't care if you're effective. The ball gets there. Yeah, you do. They want pretty.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate, but they have that right and that ability.
Well, that's where like the drops, like they got to look a certain way. I mean, like there's certain things too. And I think that's the tough thing is like, different kids playing different offenses. So like they're used to doing things a certain way, right? But there's someone else that's sitting there going, no, I like my 5 steps a little deeper, right? Or I like my 3 step a little deeper, whatever it is. I'll give you a great example. This off season, I had someone look at my son's film, and it was a like a little evaluation thing that's like done for quarterbacks, right? And so came back, the guy had great things to say about his mechanics and this and that and kind of projectability. It was kind of a cool experience, right? Someone I don't know. I just wanted someone else to see.
I was going to say, because somebody that you do know has been telling you all this
right,
stuff.
Right. So it was EJ Manuel's the guy who did it. Right. So he's an analyst. Like he played college and played professionally. Like he knows what he's talking about. And he's a good guy. Yeah. I think he's on ACC network. So he's he's in the game each week. Right. So got the video back, and the funny thing is, the only thing he knocked him on were specific to plays that we had already talked to him about how we wanted him to read the mesh, right?
Because he was doing it how you wanted it.
Yeah, because what, like in college, it's going to be a little bit different because of how the defenders react. Well, in middle school, you have to do a little different because they don't react the same way. You're trying to get them to react, but they don't react. And so you have to force them to react. And then if you force them to react, someone moves and you come back to that, and then you kind of progress through. Otherwise, you take your shot right out of the gate. But that was the only knock was like, hey, your drop's got to get a little bit deeper. And it's like, well, we're a shotgun and we have 2 seconds to get the ball out. I mean, that's how fast, like legitimately, and that's no knock against the line. That's just middle school football.
Yep.
And if you look at the other teams you're playing, they got about 2 seconds to get rid of the ball. So I thought it was pretty neat to see that though, but it's so like someone in that position though, they're going to view it as like, well, hey, when I did my stuff, I was a little deeper. Right. Yep. And so, yes, I get it. Like eventually as his game expands, he certainly can drop deeper, but the depth he was at is where we found is kind of where his pocket set pretty easily for him. Right. So, and then he could still get out of it.
He probably didn't want to give him all glowing review. Well, you got to find some.
Oh yeah, and then you get to a point where it's like, oh,
you got to have some cons with the pros.
Yeah, there was quite a few really good remarks on different things, and I thought it was kind of a neat deal. And so, to me, it just emphasized that it is beauty's in the eye of the beholder, right? So, like for me, I'm going to be rough on certain things, but I know exactly what we coach. Whereas someone on the outside looking in is going to look and go, oh, you're they can be picky. They can be picky. They will be picky with you, whether you're an offensive tackle, guard, whatever you are. A rush end. Like quite honestly, like they can afford to be picky with you, and it does not matter what you think.
Doesn't matter what you think. Doesn't matter what your high school coach tells you, your college coach, or your teammates tell you. They're the guy. You got to please them. Brady coming in at 6'2" and some change, I think. Was he 214?
Yeah, I think that's right.
214. I mean, the numbers, the testing numbers, we've seen it for how many years? 8 years now. He's always been that guy. Always been that high caliber athlete like that. Really helped himself. He's going to get a shot. He's going to get a shot. And I know various people have said he's going to be a second day, maybe a free agent signing.
I could see someone jumping up earlier.
Oh, no question.
I could see someone
after this
and his interviews. But I will tell you, JP, in our conversation, which I thought was pretty funny, we were talking about 7-on-7, and I was just telling him about the weekend, and he gave like a nice long pause and like kind of like he was like just thinking about it, and he goes, Matt, I miss those days, because we had some fun times back in the day when he was doing 7-on-7.
Oh yeah,
just some funny stories and crazy things that happen at those tournaments, right? The same type of stuff. But he did say, he goes, it was so much fun, and like for him to like kind of like draw back, he goes, I kind of wish I could still do that stuff, And so it actually kind of reset me a little bit too, because I was like, man, because it's a grind for us. We got so many things going on. Like we're setting up for the combine this weekend already.
Yeah.
And we got, the following weekend, we're going out of town again. And so like, it's a constant churn. And not to mention we have thousands of kids at our facility throughout the week, like coming through there, like in the different things that are loading and unloading programs and all that. So it's like, but it was funny when he said that. And I said, yeah, we got the combine coming. He's like, oh man, I love those days. And so it is cool because he's not that far removed from it. If you think about it, he really isn't.
He had to come in and just make an appearance.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Kids would like to see that.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Give him a little talk too.
But yeah, I mean, just fresh off his own combine experience. And now his next deal is he's got his pro day. Yep. And he's in a position now, he doesn't even need to run on his pro day because he already did enough.
Yes.
But all these other quarterbacks, if you notice, there's a lot of guys there that did not compete.
They didn't. And I gotta tell you what, this is what really stood out to me because this is what I do and what I look at. Brady comported himself the best of all the quarterbacks I watch because I watch what you're doing when you're not throwing the ball. I watch how you stand there, how you comport yourself, how you pay attention, how you take direction. And I really like Jackson Dart, right? Great arm, just
I think those two right there stood out.
Absolutely. But Brady carries himself better. Brady is more of a team guy. Brady is more of a, Jackson's very much, you can tell about Jackson. And I know it's a combine. I know he's trying to, but I got that. Ewer's the same thing. A guy like Will Howard didn't care for his, and some of the other guys.
He struggled.
Didn't care for their attitude at all.
And it showed in his throw.
Yes.
So what's interesting you say that is, I'm sure that's all being watched. Obviously, it's all being filmed, right? And so
the kids need to know that
always. And when you're at our combines, or you're at the Lindenwood camp, or you're at a college camp,
you never.
I can tell you, like a lot of kids don't realize, a lot of those camps, there's video of people just filming people milling around,
yes.
right?
Yep.
Like they just want to see how you act, and so that's the thing I think that the teams will probably tease out by interviewing coaches and people that have been in Brady's life. I've already had a couple of conversations with teams that were doing background on him. And what's interesting is I think you'll find the same constant theme is that, yeah, he's a winner. People love being around him. And, I think I've told you the story. I had a coach tell me 2 years ago before he started, before it was like his main starting year, that when we all kind of knew he should be the starter, but it was still in question. And a coach said to me, he's like, man, if he doesn't get named the starter, he's like, there's going to be a mutiny. And he's like, and that's between some coaches and the kids.
Right.
He's like, because when you have someone that's such a good leader, right? It's so easy, to see, but sometimes that's the hard decision because you don't think he's going to do this, this, and this, but then you get him on the field and he can do all of it. And he's a leader. So I think that will be the challenge for Mizzou, is replacing that next year. I mean, and that's no easy task.
No, you don't find some guy who's going to go in
bottle.
There. Right. You're going to find some guy who's going to go in and throw the ball.
Oh, hell yeah.
But it's the intangibles, I guess you would say.
Yep.
All the other stuff. And he really brings that. And so when he does meet with these teams, when these teams are looking at guys, that's going to stand out.
Yeah.
That's just going to be one more thing besides, hey, he was the most athletic quarterback at the combine. Hey, he really threw the ball better than our expectations. I have no idea where the knock is on his throwing ability comes from.
I think that there was this strange, the narrative was almost created internally that Mizzou needed to be better at throwing the ball down the field, right? And one, there's a lot that goes into throwing the ball down the field. It's not all quarterback specific. There's a lot of concept. There's a lot of route running, a lot of guys finishing catches, guys running through the ball.
Correct.
There's a lot. There's not just one. It's not a one-sided deal.
You got to have the horses to be able to do that.
Right. And some of that's just, you got to be able to protect and you got to be able to do all that.
And that was a problem for Mizzou with their offensive line.
Yeah.
And so no, I mean, great for him. He's going to get his shot.
Yes,
no surprise. The Brady haters, their head had to be like spinning watching if they watched the combine.
Just it's so funny. He just continually
like, what's he got to do?
He continually kicks sand back at all those people.
Yeah.
And he is such a good dude that, like, in the sense that when you talk to him about like there's like, you can just laugh about it. Like, it's like when we first started talking, I think I said something to the effect of like, well, mission accomplished or something like that. And literally he kind of laughed. I kind of laughed. Like, it's like one of those things where it's like, it's what when you're confident in what you can do and then you do it, you're not surprised. And it's kind of like, well, yeah, I knew I was going to do that. Right. Yeah. And I think, but to do it on, like I told him, but to be able to do that on the stage that you did it on with a bad, ankle that's still not fully healed, which those ankles, think about it. He has given his ankle no time.
I know.
To really rest. So nice thing is once he gets done with his pro day on the 21st, he'll have some time between then and the combine. The draft. So, to just relax and just relax and just let his body kind of heal, continue to go through rehab and get all that stuff done. But I think the rest of his body, I think, feels pretty good. It's just a matter of, you got ankle that you've never let it heal, you
Yeah.
gotta let it heal.
You got to let it heal.
But he's had no chance to let it heal.
Right. Because, well, he's not really that guy.
No,
He's,
he's not.
He's like, I'm going to take some time off.
But I'm so proud of him. I'm so excited for him. And I think it's just one of those things that you and I, he did great. He was a kid that never ducked the combine when he was in high school.
No.
He came
through. He was one of the top competitors. I mean, if you go through the list of guys, he was one of the top guys at the elite combine. And so this coming weekend, who's going to be the next Brady Cook?
Right.
We're going to have another Brady Cook come through there. Another Missouri kid who deserves mention is Armand Membo, who just killed it. Absolutely killed it. 6'4", 322, 491, 40. So offensive lineman, speed training. Okay.
Yeah.
Speed training, agility, speed, quickness. You can't just be big.
Wait, I thought it's just show up and get as big as you can get, and that's all that matters.
No, because we see really big guys get beat all the time.
All the time.
So, and what's fascinating about Armand is that, I've watched him all through high school, saw him go to the various combines and camps and showcases and stuff. And he really was not necessarily that on that same level as like a Brady who was killing it at combines and doing that, showing that kind of athleticism. Armand made himself into what he is through dedication, hard work, and built himself into that kind of athlete.
Right.
Because I'll tell you right now, I mean, the last time I actually saw him compete in high school in a combine, he wasn't that guy. Right. And so he was out there running drills and running his 40, and Caden Green was just smoking him on every drill, and other guys were too. So he built himself. He didn't just like, okay, I signed with Mizzou, I can relax.
Right.
He went in there and continually built himself up as an athlete and a player. And he was Mizzou's best offensive lineman last year.
Right. And he ran the loudest 42. Did you hear him run?
Yeah.
He was grunting and yelling. And but I tell you what, 4.91.
Yeah.
Good for him. And I will say too, Luther Burden ran well.
Yeah.
Right. 4.41, 4.4, whatever it was. Hats off to the Mizzou strength staff. Right.
Yeah.
Because
without a doubt,
they're doing a lot of good stuff down there, because those guys who came out of high school, all good athletes, they definitely improved and got better.
Yes.
And I know every year after their spring ball, they do have their testing period too as well.
Yeah.
And that's why they probably have a good idea of what. So they're training them of how to do that stuff, kind of in their fold of how they're doing their strength and conditioning work. So hats off to those guys and strength staff, because I know that that those guys go and you do a few weeks of combine training and all that which helps a ton. But the reality of it is if you're not starting with a good base layer, there's nothing. You're not going to change a lot in 3 to 6 weeks.
Right. You're absolutely right.
So, but that's, I mean, Armand Membu, like he helped his stock. But to your point, you guys that want to play high level offensive linemen and you go down to the game, like we've talked about this in the past, you go down to the spring game and you watch these guys, or you're there on a junior day and there's a practice, you go over and watch the practice and you're like, oh, I'm as big as that guy. I'm better than him. Oh, what is it? Yeah, like I could start here now, right? And no, it doesn't work that way.
Right.
You're not ready. You're not nearly as big or fast, as strong as you think you are. That guy's moving a lot faster than you think he is. And just, you want to know, wait till you get on the field with them, right? And it's like, there's so many like people that watch the game that just think, oh, I can do that. And it's like, no. Just to survive, you have to be so much better than what you think you are, and so much better than what you are today. And so that man's 300 something pounds running at 4.9, 322. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
That is like, to give you an idea, to run a 4.91 on a laser, whether that's a hand start laser finish, you are flat out moving.
And at 322, you're moving a lot of stuff.
Yes. Yes.
You're moving a lot of stuff.
And the ability to get down and get out of there and go.
Yes.
Like, it's just, it's crazy. So start working on it. Build the base, right? I mean, we're not saying that you need to come to the combine and we're going to have kids running the same time.
No.
Now the asterisk is, I will tell you that you need to understand that on those 40s, you ever notice it says unofficial time?
Yeah.
Well, so the way it works is there's a starter, there. So they have a laser start and a laser finish, which would be termed an official time, right? Because there's no human touching it, right?
Yeah.
You put your hand down, the thing turns red, and then when you pick it up, it's green and you're gone, right? So it's basically like a laser deal. It just, you clear the laser. Once that person enters in there, you notice they have to hold for like a 3 count.
Right.
In that time, their hand doesn't move because it breaks the beam. The beam is now broken. And as soon as that hand moves and that beam connects, the clock starts, right? The guy sitting at the table, Mike Weinstein, they're on the table. They see it. They know it because they clear it out. Once you get to the line, they clear it out. As long as your hand doesn't move again, you're set to go.
Right.
And then once that hand moves, it starts, and then you run through the end, it finishes. Now, the unofficial time, there's a guy sitting next to him. There's a starter, and then there's a starter who has the clicker. He's hand starting that, okay? And then the guy finishing is the laser, right? So there's no one stopping it at the end, but there is someone starting at the beginning. That is a different time than what's going to show up as a laser start, laser finish. So, the rule of thumb is laser start, laser finish is 0.2 of a second is like your hand time equivalent. Hand start is usually like 0.1 of a second because they're just like a little bit delayed. That's why you see so many 4.4s and 4.3s and stuff like that, where, they changed the starter a number of years ago and the numbers definitely shifted with that change. And that's just a matter of how fast someone is or slow with their start.
Correct.
And, so
I would say to everybody who watched the NFL Combine and they're going to come compete, do not compare yourself or your times or your jumps or any of that to what you saw on the NFL Combine. And that's the case in point. I think that's the point you're trying to make.
Yes. Well, the only one. Okay, so the same laser system we have at our combine is the exact same one that they're using. I know the guy who runs the scores and tests for the NFL. He was there. He was in the video of every guy at the start. You could see him. I can tell you they do it a little differently just because of the hand start laser finish for TV, right? It's made for TV. It ain't made for, what you're going to do. But knowing your laser start, laser finish time, knock a 10th off, and you know what you want to run at the NFL Combine.
Right.
Simple as that.
Bingo.
But the one score that I will tell you that that I believe is the best is your broad jump.
Yes.
That's the one that to me shows the most linear explosion, shows how much you can explode, how fast you can get off the ground, and propel your body.
Yes, the broad jump, vertical too, but specifically the broad jump, because you're not going to jump a 10-2 broad jump and be a slow guy.
Nope.
You might run a slow 40, but that's because you don't have the proper technique. Or something happened. You stumbled, whatever.
Or you ran a 38-yard dash and you slowed down, whatever it might be.
Exactly. So, yeah, that's very telling, because sometimes you will see that. Sometimes you will see I've seen guys have a 38-inch, vertical jump and a 10-foot broad jump, and then they run a slow 40. I'm like, well, that doesn't compute.
It doesn't compute. And so I'm that guy in my book. I'm saying, that's the kind of athlete I want to round.
Yes, exactly.
Right? That's it.
Exactly. And if you can broad jump 10 feet or better, right, and you run a bad 40, you can learn to run a better 40. Right. And there's a difference between running a 40-yard dash and football speed.
Correct.
On the field. So don't get caught up. Basically what I'm trying to say is don't get caught up in numbers.
And and exactly. And you want to be thinking in ranges, not so much specific times.
Correct.
Right. And there are published data on like what and again, it gets a little skewed because, now the next phase of the NFL Combine, they are, after the Combine, they do pro days and they go to the pro days and the scouts all hand time.
Yeah.
Right. And which there's so much variability in hand times. Right. I mean, come on. I've timed thousands of people running, and I can tell you sometimes I'm great at it, and sometimes the watch doesn't fire right, whatever it is, right? So, I think that's why you want to run on a laser so you know where you're really at. But there's so many skewed numbers. But like honestly, if you're a high school kid and you can run somewhere on a laser start, laser finish, if you're somewhere between a 4.9 on the laser down to like a 4.7. That means you're running a 4.5 to a 4.7 on a hand time, and that means you're within the club.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, it really...
Depending on your position.
And it depends on position. It depends on your height. If you're a certain height, you don't need to run as fast. If you're a certain weight, you play a certain position, and you jump this far, you jump this high, you run this. It all just comes together. So you really can't get too caught up in your numbers.
Correct.
And plus, these numbers will give you something to work at if you don't know. I mean, if you're unhappy with them, right?
Yes,
and you got to find out a base. Yeah, you got to find out where you're at to get better, right? What you don't want to do is you don't want to show up at a college camp not knowing what your 40 is. And I'm talking about verified, like you said, at the Elite Combine, KC Varsity, where it's lasered. It's all the same equipment. Your high school is great, but I think you said last week, you're at on your track and you got somebody hand timing you from your school. That's not necessarily.
And there's so many. Okay, so for instance, someone told me yesterday, they gave me someone's 40 time, right? And they were talking about a guy's a draft prospect he has just done his pro day. He hadn't done his pro day yet. And he gave me like a time, and I said, that's a laser start, laser finish. He ran that fast, that big. And he goes, I go, so he would have been the fastest lineman at the combine. Yeah. And then the guy pulled the video up, and then it was one of these scenarios, which we have like different laser systems in our facility. Yeah. We have some that we use for like flying 10s that don't really matter, because once you enter in and once you leave, it's, it runs your time, which is great. And it's perfect. They're easy to set up. It's easy to do, but that's not the system you want to use for running 40s, because it does not have the ability to start, like I said before, where the beam stops, right? And then it clears itself out, and then it starts. This thing, once that beam gets broken, it starts. So so what people will do is they'll start you a little bit behind it. Well, then you're getting momentum moving through versus a stagnant start, which is the whole purpose of a 3-point stand start. So yeah, just know. And there's a lot of guys that they clip things onto people and they, oh yeah, you ran this, and it's like, yes, you might have on that system, but like the standard operating procedure for the college combines and mega camps is the Zybex system. It's been done like that for years. So the NFL does it. That's why the other guys use it. It is what it is. Like, so you might as well want to test on that, so and it hurts your feelings. I will tell you, it is not good.
You say that to the kids.
It does.
At the combines. It hurts your feelings.
And there's people every year that will come back and go, my coach told me I ran this. Okay, but does he have this system? If not, he should probably invest in it, or they should invest in it so they can have it, because then it will give a standardized, procedure, right? And it'll give you a standardized test result. But too many kids come in and think that they're faster than what they are. And they might be in that other testing mechanism. Yeah, everybody's faster on a hand time, right? I mean, it is what it is. So I do think that, just that's why you go to combines. You want to get a standardized score where you can then you start looking at, we talked about with the middle school combine. Look at, say there's 200 kids there. Look at the other guys in your position. Look at the other guys around your size. Look at the other guys in your age, and then see where you stack rank. If you're not up in that top 5% for your grade, you might not be top 5% for the whole event.
Right.
But if you're in that top 5% of your group, if you will, that means you're kind of heading in the right direction.
Exactly.
But if you're in the lower 5%, you got a lot of work to do. If you're in the middle, you still got a lot of work to do.
Right. Absolutely. And it starts on Saturday. It's going to be a great time. If you or your child hasn't signed up yet, now would be a good time to do it.
It's starting to get close on registrations closing up.
Exactly. We're getting close on it. It's going to be a great time. The weather seems like it's going to be pretty decent. Of course, it is indoors at former Rams Park, the Lou Fuse Athletic Center. And also, don't forget, 2 of the top guys are winning automatic scholarships, free entry to Kansas City Varsity, KC Varsity Combine. That's going to be at Parkway West.
Yep.
On May the 3rd, which again we'll all be at.
Yep. And I think we're going to have our friends from Supplement Superstore are going to be there. They're going to do some I think some giveaways to some of the top guys, which I think will be kind of cool.
Nice.
So probably those guys that win that will be the ones that get the get an added bonus, right? So, but yeah, I think the reason why you want to do it, and we have phone calls coming today. hey, my child's in 8th grade. I think we're going to hold off a year.
Yeah.
My opinion, my professional opinion, I would not hold off. If you think your child has aspirations of playing beyond high school, right? And you might not know at this time. You, as in 8th grade, you might not know, but you're probably getting a good picture of this. They're going to be a pretty good high school football player. You might as well get them the experience, because the rationale is they come in this year, they're testing with house money because no one cares when they're in 8th grade.
Right.
They test well and they're big enough or whatever, it starts to open eyes, right?
Absolutely.
Then on the flip side, you have this scenario where they come in next year and they're going to be a sophomore, freshman going to be a sophomore, and that's now people do care.
Very much
right.
so.
And so you're more comfortable with the testing, you're more comfortable with the process. And now all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, I know how to do this. And you're not worried about it, and you feel more comfortable. You feel more comfortable, you test, right? And you test well. So that's why, I think it's definitely an advantage for the younger guys to come. If 100%. You're a junior, rising senior, it's non-negotiable if you want to be playing at the next level.
This is your last chance. Without question, to open some eyes, to get some traction, to get some kind of promotion on your abilities. But you're absolutely right. The younger guys come on in, and you're going to open some eyes, and then you're going to keep building. I mean, I can't tell you the number of guys who've come into the combine as a freshman or a sophomore, leave the combine, start picking up offers, and then we never see them again, right? And that's perfectly fine. It's a kiss of death, but that's fine. I mean, that was the whole purpose behind it. I mean, it would take 2-3 pages on the website to list all the guys who that's kind of happened to after, I think this was year 16 or 17 doing this, something like that. In fact, and there's guys who were like some of the former combine guys who want to come back and help coach it now,
which is awesome.
Absolutely. And so you definitely want to be out there if you have any aspirations on playing.
It's a great event, fun, and so it's fun. Just so we're clear too, the reason why you want to do something like this time of year, right? So let's just go through the rationale. You've had the season ended for a majority of people in October and November, right? Some in December, but the vast majority were done in November, early November. So you've had November, December, January, February, 4 months, right? For the most part. Some had 3 months off. You're either playing another sport or you're lifting and running. Hopefully you've been lifting and running. And now, the last time they had hard measurements on you was in August, right? Before everybody filled out their stuff and your roster was made, so your height and weight. Hopefully at that point in time, you've grown a little bit, you've put on some weight. And now, in the last time they had scores from you was last summer. So now they can start to watch your film, coordinate what your height and weight is, your speed is, all your current stuff with what they saw in the fall, and kind of start to predict what they're going to see from you in the future. And so there's where so many guys, or there's guys that are just kind of hanging on the fence, and these coaches are waiting to hear what these scores are. And they're like, oh, damn. All right, perfect. Right. Let's get this. And so it's not so much that you're going to go and have a bunch of coaches there, because it's this time of year. It's not the best time of year for coaches to be out. The FCS guys or FBS guys they're in a quiet period. Like they're not leaving campus, right? They can start to do junior days and things like that.
Yeah.
Or events.
Nothing off campus.
But they can't be off campus. And so I think, and some kids are going to be challenged with, well, do I go to a junior day or do I go to a combine? My question is to you, just so we're clear, a lot of junior days, while they're very flattering and they're good for your recruiting, like to put on your social media and stuff like that, other coaches know what that is though. So they're kind of cattle calls for the most part. Okay. So if you go to those cattle calls and you miss an opportunity to prove that you've improved, right? I think that you're missing the boat, unless that school has already offered you or they're on the fence of offering you. But I don't know that going to a junior day is going to make them offer you or not, because I know for a fact there's a lot of kids that have offers from a lot of schools. They've never been on their campus.
Yeah. And I tell you right now, if you're a freshman or a sophomore, unless they've been in contact with you, your coach, and there's some kind of pretty good idea, hey, you show up, you're going to get an offer. Enjoy your trip. Enjoy watching a basketball game. Enjoy looking at all the pretty colors and stuff like that. but you're not going to get an offer. And there's a bunch of different junior days. Some pop up. Some places are up inviting kids to their junior day this week.
Hey,
Right? So
question.
this is Tuesday. They're just getting offers. They expect them to come in on Saturday.
Okay,
Yeah.
so here's a question.
Yep.
If you don't go to the junior day,
You'll
and
be
they
bummed.
were gonna offer you, will they still offer you?
Absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely. If you're that guy, they're going to offer you. But I'll tell you what, there's very few kids who are going to walk in the door that they don't already are predisposed. They're going to offer you. And they're going to look at that kid and be like, hey, we got to offer that guy. There's some, it's very rare, right?
Extremely rare.
You've got to be incredibly physically developed, right? Something that you're just like, hey, this guy, we got to offer him, whether it's, but there's not a lot of those guys out there.
And if you don't have offers from other commensurate level schools, you're probably wishing.
Right. It's a meet and greet, right? And if you're younger and you're not really on their board at any level, they're going to put your name in the database, but they just want to get you in front of them because you're coming on your dime. So you're coming there to them and they want to be able to shake your hand in case you develop into something down the line. They can say, hey, remember when we invited you to our junior day? We loved you then. We love you now. We want you.
Mm-hmm. Yet they've offered 5 other kids in your class.
Correct.
That they just now can't get. And so now they're coming down the line.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. If you're a fisherman, you want a wide net, right? You want to catch as many fish as you can. That's exactly what this is. You want that wide net, bring them in case they are something. Some of them you don't want, some of them you throw back, some of them, and that's what it is. Yeah. I have a pretty good idea because I talk to these guys about what's going to happen, who might offer them. If they're out of the blue, right, and you're a freshman or a sophomore, and out of the blue, 4 days before their junior day, they're like, hey, come on down to our junior day or come on up to our junior day.
They're filling up. They're trying to fill it up.
Correct. You're filler.
Which, again, to your point, it's on your dime.
Yeah.
And then you're going to go.
They got nothing.
And it's a marketing deal for them.
Yep.
Right. So they're going to have the picture. You get the picture down the campus or whatever you do, at the event. And then you're retweeting that you got invited, which, again, that's
good for
great.
you. Yeah.
It's good. But I do think you got to be realistic too. If it's like a big time school, it's a SEC school or a Big Ten school, be realistic about we know that they're only taking half of the kids that they've taken. Look in your class and see how many kids. Now, if they've offered no quarterbacks or they've offered no receivers in your class, okay, maybe kick the tires. But if they've already offered 5 to 8 guys in your class, which you can look at a lot of the recruiting sites, 24/7 has a pretty good database that shows who's got offers, right? By school, by class. That's probably a good idea to do. Just check it out.
Yeah, oh yeah, you should always do that. You should always do your research when it comes to recruiting by checking out schools' rosters and checking out who they've offered already.
And here's the thing. You can look at, there's kids, I saw kids getting in 2030 getting offers, 2029, 7th and 8th graders, that guys that are small, guys that are not even, but it's exploratory. It's the same concept, if you will, right? Where someone's just saying, hey, we'll throw an offer out for my buddy here, and then go. But the reality of it is like that there could be 20 kids between now and then that grow bigger or better.
Oh yeah. There's 28 kids who don't have an offer, who are going to be one of the more heavily recruited kids in the nation. Right. I mean, I know this. I just know what's coming down the pike, and they're guys because the atmosphere, the lay of the land is so different with recruiting now that it's going to be a struggle. Right. And I mean, we're seeing it all the time. We saw it with the 2025 kids. We're seeing it with the 2026 kids.
With the 2025 kids, I was always saying to myself, okay, finally the COVID stuff's done. Those guys are out. The extra bonus year guys are gone. Hopefully that the transfer portal is going to normalize to some degree, right?
Yeah, it ain't happening.
And then bam, all of a sudden, you add in, more chaos in the transfer portal. You add in the ability for guys to, not count their JUCO years. You add in, all these things are cumulative, right? And then you say roster limits. Okay, like 85 scholarships, or is it 105 scholarships? Is it, there's so many unanswered questions that schools might not even know the full answer to at this point, that it gives the ability for even more ability to duck and hide for the colleges than they had before. Right. Oh yeah. We don't know. We're waiting to hear on this, and we don't know, whereas in the past, like, hey, we knew they had this number of scholarships, this number of walk-ons. Now they didn't even know.
Right.
I mean, it's the whole process is bizarre.
It's very bizarre, and it's it's. I mean, the ball is tremendously in their court, right? They hold all the cards, and I mean, they're to the point now to where they're just ghosting guys. They're just, we love you one day, another guy, better guy comes along. You know that meme where the guy's walking with his girlfriend,
yep,
and he's walking around, he turns around. That's really what's going on. So it's incredibly difficult going forward to be recruited on a high level, which is why you need to be attending these events, which is why you need to be coming in and training, right? Because the degree of difficulty is going to be harder. And if you don't do these kinds of things, good luck. Because
and so the tough thing too is that you have the other camp is, well, just play as many sports as possible.
Yeah.
That's great.
But
the reality of it is like they're not, like, unless you are like so outlier, like you're such an outlier in that other sport, there's buzz around that. Like I don't see, other than the crossover skill development type scenario,
right?
I don't see where the colleges place a ton of. I mean, I won't even say the name of the school or the coach, but like at one point, like at a recruit that played 2 sports. It sounded like that was no issue when the recruiting was going on, and then when he got to campus and it became more of a hassle to have him playing both, the guy said to me, he's like, man, he's like, I asked about him, he's like, I don't know if he plays this sport or our sport,
right?
And for the athlete, that's a bad position to be in, because now all of a sudden, you came in under one set of circumstances, like thinking like, hey, I'm going to get to do both of these because I'm such a good player, they need me for both. Yeah. And the reality of it is no, the guy coaching the other sport and the guy coaching your primary sport both want you and need you, because their jobs require that they're top, and they can't put trust in you if you're not at both. If you're at both and you're not just one. And so, that it's a tough spot to be in, but like I always say, and anybody, can refute it, but like, if it was so beneficial to play 2 sports for the athlete, then why don't we see more people doing it in college?
Yeah. Oh,
if it truly made the athlete better, right? Why don't they play something in the spring and then come back and be better football players in the fall?
Yeah.
So if someone has the answer for that, let us know, because that's the narrative when you're younger, right? And I agree when you're like in middle school, but you get to high school, guys are specializing, and people could take a knock on people that specialize, but at the end of the day, they're trying to like basically like eradicate your level of player at the college level. They don't want high school kids if they don't have to.
And the high school numbers are shrinking, right? So don't give them an added reason not to recruit you or not to sign you, because they're like, we don't know what he is. He seems to love track. He seems to love basketball. See, he's really good at lacrosse. Is that what he wants to play in college?
That happens all the time.
All the time. So don't give them that, right? Yep. If you want to play a second sport, right, up until maybe sophomore year, fine, great. But you better specialize, because going forward, that's the name of the game. It's specialization.
100%.
And doing all the stuff for fun or whatever. I mean, I can't tell you the number of guys who contact me like, yeah, I'm on a team where we're playing, for a championship or whatever, or we're in the playoffs.
It happens. Well, the tough thing is
what's that doing for you?
Tough thing is baseball is the other one. Like, we're in the summer. If you want to be a competitive baseball player, you're playing all summer long. You have to.
Yep.
Right? Like, if you're competitive.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is that's when your team's preparing for the football season.
Yeah.
So you can't do both at a high level. You just can't. Yeah. Right? You just cannot do it. You can, from a recreational standpoint, play multiple sports if you just align so that they don't bump into each other. And that's where good coaches that communicate with each other allow that to happen. And there's countless examples of where that you can coexist doing that. It's just not at the college level. I've never. Justin Gage is the last guy I saw successfully navigate Division I basketball and football.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Him. I remember to a degree, Lamont Frazier did it a little bit.
Yeah.
Way back in the day. But no, you're absolutely
It's just
right.
hard. It's just hard. And so, but
especially with football being a year-round sport now. I mean, track is good. You want to increase your speed, whatever. That's great. That never really hurts anybody,
right.
doing track.
But track is but track is different in the sense that the meets and how you do it is way different than some of the other sports.
Right.
They're not nearly as many meets. You can pick and choose which meets you want to do, what events you want to do, right? Like
there are guys who still miss stuff because of track.
Oh yeah, there are.
And it's like, okay,
yeah,
is that what you're going to do in college? I mean, I understand it from I want to get faster, the speed training,
but that takes place in practice.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
That should be your practice.
Yes.
But yeah, it's no enviable task, because if you want to play, and the tough thing is you do want to play as many sports as you do when you're young, and you want to do it and enjoy it and have fun, because there's so much to be learned from playing those other sports. I think the angle we're coming from, though, is the reality of what we hear and see, because people will say, they'll talk out of both sides of their mouths and say they love that dual sport athlete or 3-sport athlete. And then at the same time, they will say exactly what you said earlier. He's a basketball player. He's a lacrosse. He's a soccer player.
Yep.
I've heard it 1,000 times. I told you, I sat with, Rennell Wren. Oh, he's just a basketball player.
Because believe it or not, they look for reasons to check you off.
It is bizarre.
Because there's so many kids they're looking at, right?
Yes.
And it's one less kid they got to worry about.
Is he really a football player?
Right.
And so that's, to me, it's really we're not saying don't play other sports. We're saying you have to understand the risk that perception may be. Now, let's say you are an All-American lacrosse player. It then changes the narrative, and it's like, oh, this dude is, if we can pry him away from that sport, he's got these unique capabilities that we can use in our world.
Correct.
And so that becomes different. But if you're a run-of-the-mill baseball player or basketball player, like who's just on the team, you don't have that argument.
No, you have to pick a sport. And I know that's not fun all the time, but there are guys who love hooping, right? They love basketball, but they're better. They have a better future. They can go further in football. Mm-hmm. And they just don't, they mess around with basketball too much. I mean, my gosh, summer. the number of guys who are good basketball players, not the elite basketball.
Correct.
Good basketball players who would be high-level football players is amazing. And they don't do it for the love of that. A guy who's signed with Colorado State, Brock Camp, he was one of those guys, mm-hmm. right? And every coach I ever saw who saw him, high school coach and college coaches, were like, wow, man, he's amazing. That dude, 6'6", 6'7", 240, flies on just one-handed grab. College coaches were like, he loves baseball. He loves basketball. And he does love basketball. In fact, his X handle is Bobby Buckets or Bubby Buckets, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because he loves. So colleges will be like, what's that?
We had your kid years ago, played 7-on-7 with us. He went to Eureka. Avery Taggart, really good.
I remember, yep.
I mean, high-level tight end, big, strong, mm-hmm. but he loved basketball too.
Yeah, I remember him.
Went to SIU, try to do both, I think.
Yep.
Which is so hard to do, right? And then ended up going, I think, Missouri Southern to play basketball. But to me, now he loved basketball, right? And I don't know how much he loved football. I can't speak for him. But the thing is, I think it's interesting is my projection of him, if he would have been full go football, he had talent at a high level that he could have been a high level college player, probably with the chance to go beyond, right?
Yeah.
But probably no chance to go beyond in the NBA from where he's playing in college. It's just hard.
The reality
but the reality of who he is, size and all that fits extremely well at the tight end H-back level in college.
Right. And
So-
that's
But again, it's all choices that people make. Like, hey, this is what I want to do. This is what I love. No one wants to stand in the way of that, but you have to be realistic when people tell you, like, start listening to people telling you, like, these things matter, because they do. And there's other people who are going to say, oh, they don't know what they're talking about.
and I mean,
Okay.
that's it. We're here to educate. We're not here to steer, in any direction. Here to try to educate you, help you make the most informed decisions that you possibly can, because we've been doing this a minute.
A few minutes.
So a few minutes. So we're just
yeah.
just trying to help. But man, the time flies. Hours up. Lots of big stuff coming up. Of course, Saturday, the combine. What you got to say?
We got combine training tonight, 7:30. It's our last one. Again, knowing the answers to the test certainly helps you protect and what you're going to do, right? And protect your mindset of, like, hey, I know how I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it, right? Because you've kind of already taken the test beforehand. So that's tonight, 7:30. And then we'll be there Saturday. It's Saturday, basically 8 to 1.
I was going to say, when's a good time for people to show up?
And then the register is elitefootballcombine.com. Do not show up if you have not registered. Register
Very
in
much
advance,
so. Yep.
because we will turn you away. We have had to do it the last couple of years. But yeah, I think what you say, year 16, 17.
Yeah.
The thing I've learned from it is come in, learn from it. Do not be too high. Do not be too low.
Have fun.
There's guys playing in the NFL that have done this same deal. They've gone on and done the NFL combine. You can go back and look in time on our website, all the different tests and all the different years. And it's just kind of a fun thing to see where it's gone all these years. So, but from that perspective, we encourage you to come, have fun, learn from it.
Yep.
And then
don't put too much pressure on yourself.
and just learn from the process.
Yes.
Right. That's it.
Absolutely.
And I will tell you, there's going to be kids that leave and get offers next week right after it, based on what their performance is.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it works.
That's the way. And come in and be a elite combine all-star, win a scholarship to the KC varsity. I mean, there's a lot of incentives. You say that other things are going to be happening there, giveaways. People are going to be there.
Maybe a selection or two for the American Cancer Society game as well.
That's probably most likely going to happen. And are the TV folks going to be there again this year?
Yes. Yep.
So yeah, so lots of cool stuff. I know the kids like that.
That is fun. They do interviews.
They like to go do the interviews.
The problem is they want to interview me and you, and neither of us really have time to do it. And it's
right.
and then it's like we do it while we're cleaning up, and I don't want to do it because we got to get up and clean up and go.
Exactly. Yeah, nothing like a producer coming and be like, "Hey, can you? I'm busy.
Yeah,
we're working here.
Yeah, we're working." But it is great. Andre and his
absolutely.
crew do an awesome job.
Love it.
It's fun. It's a lot of fun. Gets to be on
kids
TV.
Asking me that just the
yes,
other day.
it is. They're going to be there.
All right, sounds cool. Sounds great. We got a lot to talk about next week. There you go. You can find us. Producer Joe puts up the socials on Flyover go ahead. It's Elite Football on X, Elite Football Academy on Instagram. You can go ahead and do mine.
Hey, you want me to do yours?
Sure. I just did yours.
Well, I'm going to go off the top. I know it's JP Scout You, right?
Yeah, JP Rock.
JP Rock Scout You at Instagram.
Yeah.
And then JP Rock Mo at X.
That one know by heart.
Hey, I will say that if you want to register for the combine, elitefootballcombine.com, I would say at latest Wednesday, Thursday, you should be registered.
To be sure. Otherwise, reach out to one of us for sure to make sure that's the case, because you're right. There are guys who show up.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, I know I feel bad because you got to be the bad guy turning away.
Yep. We only have so many shirts.
All right. So looking forward to that. A lot to talk about. We'll be talking about that and other stuff next week. Enjoyed ourselves as always. Everybody stay safe out there. It's windy. It's rainy. And we will talk to you next week. See ya.